Hey everybody, welcome back. Review a Day, episode number 163. I'm Leland, and thank you guys for joining me. The film I'm reviewing for you guys today is the new film from Quentin Tarantino, Inglourious Basterds. This is his Nazi killer movie about a group of U.S. soldiers who get dropped into Germany. They're called the Bastards, and they try to strike fear into Nazis by scalping them and kind of mutilating the bodies. Quentin Tarantino, I don't know if there's another director I have more of a love-hate relationship with. Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs were really two films for me when I first really getting into film, like getting into movies when I was probably 13 or 14. Like, those were the movies that I remember thinking, like, holy crap, like, this guy knows what he is doing. Kill Bill and Death Proof, for me, I don't dig so much. To me, the problem with those, it's always kind of been style over substance. I've always wanted Quentin Tarantino to take something really meaty and treat it great, because he is undoubtedly one of the greatest directors living. I think the guy behind the camera knows what he is doing. Kill Bill and Death Proof made me doubt his ability as a writer, though, at times. I thought Death Proof was talky and boring. The car chases were amazing, though, and when he started directing and his directing kind of took over, I really started to love it. So I was really interested to see what he was going to do with the World War II milieu. However, this is not a typical World War II war film. This is the type of film that only Quentin Tarantino can make. No one else in their right mind would allow someone to make this type of film. It is a spaghetti western, it's a noir, it's a war film, it's a revenge flick. It is everything. This movie is such a complete tribute to all of movies. By the end of this movie, film is used as a weapon, quite literally almost, and it is a lot of fun to see Quentin Tarantino do that. I will say that there's a couple things I think you should know before going into this film. First and foremost, this movie is not an action movie. If you go into this film expecting balls-to-the-wall action beginning to end, if you're looking for something like Shoot 'em Up or even something like the Grindhouse films, I think you will be incredibly disappointed. If you go into this expecting balls-out action, it is not. Not to say that this movie isn't pretty suspenseful and exciting, but this movie is dialogue-driven. There is a lot of dialogue in this film. And one thing you should also know about this film is that I would say over half of it is in subtitles. So if you aren't used to reading subtitles, this may be a bit of a departure for you. This film, people speak the languages they would be speaking. It's also pretty interesting because there's a scene in which they start speaking English, and then they start speaking French, and then they go back to German. It's really interesting because it's also part of people's, it's like a chess game, and people are speaking a specific language for a certain reason, and then you find out why, and it's like, oh, that is quite awesome. There's some really terrific performances in this film. I thought there's pretty much three leads. There's Brad Pitt, who plays Aldo Rain, the head of the Bastards, Melanie Laurent, who plays Shoshana, a young Jewish girl, and Christopher Waltz, who plays the evil Nazi in this movie, Hans Landa. He steals every single scene he is in. I wish Christopher Waltz was in every goddamn frame of this movie because he is superb. He is so much fun to watch. He's a smiling Nazi. He is an opportunist. He is evil. He is everything you want a villain to be. Hand him the Oscar right now is all I have to say. Just give him the fucking Oscar now, because the guy, it's probably the best performance I've seen all year. I think, however, though, I don't think Aldo Rain, Brad Pitt's character, or Shoshana really ever elevate themselves to the level of being a hero that equals his villain. I think one of the problems I have with this film is that the villain is just too damn good. He is just too much fun to watch. And I think Brad Pitt is a lot of fun to watch in this movie. I wasn't taken back quite as much by I wasn't taken quite so far back by his accent as I thought I was going to in the trailer. However, I think his character also kind of fits better in Kill Bill, because Inglourious Basterds, I was very thankful about this, seems to be in our world a little bit more than Kill Bill. It's not quite the ridiculousness that you had in Kill Bill or Death Proof. It feels a little bit more rooted. There definitely are moments in this film where I think the violence gets a little cartoony. The end of it, I liked, but there's a moment in the end of this movie that, for me, that I think for a lot of people should be like, that is fucking awesome. And I don't think it works as well as I wished it would, and I think if it works, it's because of what we know and bring it to the table. I don't want to spoil too much because I don't want to give away the end of this film here. The other problem that I have with this film, and I don't really fault Quentin Tarantino for it, but it is something that I think is going to keep me from loving this movie as much as Reservoir Dogs or Pulp Fiction. And it's the fact that, like, a lot of this movie is subtitled. And I think it's amazing that Quentin Tarantino had the fucking balls to make an American film that is international and is full of other languages. And English probably isn't the main language being spoken here, but I think you lose a lot of what is great about Quentin Tarantino dialogue when you have to sit there and read it. I think anyone who says that this movie is too talky, I think a lot of people will be taken back by the fact that they will be reading a lot of that dialogue, and I don't think people expect to be reading as much when they go to this film. It's a very smart and intelligent film, and there is a lot of reading, and I think you lose that crackle, that pop, a lot of the wit of Quentin Tarantino dialogue when I had to read it translated. Maybe if I bet that crackle is there if I spoke those languages, but because I'm a stupid American and I only speak one language, I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I hoped. Also, the film is kind of broken up into these chapters, which is really cool. My favorite title chapter in the entire film, Once Upon a Time in Nazi-occupied Germany, which is what this film is. It's a spaghetti western set in Germany. It's interesting in each film, each little short is really great, but I also think that when you do that, it breaks up momentum, and I also think at times it's hard to really figure out where the movie is heading. By the end, this movie is great. I think it's going to be one of the better films of the year. It's not my favorite Tarantino film, and I think that there is so much to grapple with in this movie that it is a lot of fun. People often talk about that film Southland Tales, Richard Kelly's movie, as a beautiful mess. I think that movie is just a fucking mess. I think Inglourious Basterds is a beautiful mess. I think there is some great filmmaking on display here. Quentin Tarantino has pretty much won me back, and I'm a fan again, I'm going to say. I give Inglourious Basterds a 4.5 out of 5. If you guys like this review, make sure to head over to nitpickit.com or Dampercast. There's a new episode of Nitpick It out today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.